I think one of our biggest challenges, and it really does tie into everything that you both have just been saying, is that I think as a society, we, especially as a so-called developed nation, first world society, um, we're all suffering from inflammation. It's probably the number one so-called disorder would be inflammation.
Yeah.
And largely coming from processed foods and sugars and all these hidden oxidants essentially. And really that's what conventional agriculture has done to the soil as well, right? So we've oxidized the soil to the point where plants have to be producing a lot of anti-inflammatories, which is great because I mean that's what we want too, right? We want those flavonoids, the cannabinoids, the terpenoids, because they are in fact a lot of antioxidants as well. And so we need that to address our inflammation just the same way using the fish brew, using the compost, using EM, using the fermented. I mean, it's amazing all the fermented foods that is your probiotic in a you're not paying what do you say, $5 a capsule. You're getting a lot more CFUs eating kimchi and having a kefir than you are buying that acidophilus or whatever. So I really, it does tie in. Our soils are inflamed, our bodies are inflamed, and drink soil.
I also have one more thing to say really quickly is the oxidation is like oxygenation. And a lot of a lot of human bodies on Earth right now lack oxygenation. They don't move their bodies enough. And they're also not connected to food and not connected to growing. So it's interesting, like our farm can be actually everything we needed. It's the movement that we're looking for. It's the yoga that we're looking for. It's the food coming back at us because of our actions, that reward. It's that whole closed loop health cycle, eating the soil and all that thing, like we need to like reoxygenate our bodies as well and create movement.
And also, one thing that you said, Leighton, is that we're treating the symptoms. And now it's really nice because we can actually bring this thought processes into an educated group, which is our viewers right now. So our viewers are starting to understand what this really means. And an example that I'm going to use is that when you're treating a symptom, let's say all of you people out there who have dealt with broad mites, okay? Let's just use that. That's a pest.
And the only way you can see broad mites is how, because they might not know.
Well, okay. I didn't want to get into broad mite talk. So that's a whole. All I want to say is that if there's a plant that is experiencing something, let's say aphids, whatever, it doesn't matter. Broad mites, aphids, it doesn't matter. What a doctor is doing is totally equivalent to me going in and pulling all of the leaves off of that plant. Did I solve the aphid problem? Fuck yeah, I did. I solved the aphid problem. Isn't that what you asked me to do? Didn't you ask me to solve the aphid problem? And then you realize, well, it did solve the aphid problem because there's no more leaves for the aphid to even fucking eat.
Well,
that's exactly what pharmaceutical curatives are doing to you. Chemotherapy is like going into a cut block and clear cutting every single thing in there and not relying on that there were positive influences there that you could start to grow off of. So really, this type of treatment that's happening in our health system is no different than how I just explained it to you.
Yep. And then you wonder why the plant dies.
Yeah, then why did oh, right. We needed to have a plant. Right. Yeah.
Right.
So the problem is not necessarily the aphids or cancer. The problem is an unhealthy biome.
And so you guys, you want to hear something really crazy? My cousin married a chief of staff of an ER facility. So as chief of staff of the ER, he has to understand all the different medicines, all of the different disciplines within surgeons, so that he can make sure that he's calling the right people in for the issues that are happened, the trauma that's happened to this human. So he and I were sitting talking after the death of a family member. And he's like, I heard your cousin says you're into soil biology. What are you doing? And I'm like, well, I go there and I look at their soil under a microscope, and I'm looking to see if there's protozoa, nematodes, and what level of bacteria are here. And he's like, well, you ever heard of a fecal transplant? And I was like, no, what is that? And he basically explained it to me. I have to go to this guy's sister to get her manure to re-put into her brother, so that he can actually process food. I'm like, wait, what? Yeah. What are you doing? And he's like, so in this product that you make to apply the soil, do you have protozoa? I said, yeah, I've got oxygen or aerobic ones. I have flagellates and amoeba, and sometimes testes, sometimes naked, sometimes big flagellates, sometimes little flagellates. He's like, wow. And I go, well, if you're thinking about using that as a fecal transplant, oh, absolutely. You could put some in a capsule and eat it so that it passes through your stomach into your upper intestine. You could use it as an enema to infect a lower colon, which is actually our pharmaceutical. Our entire pharmacy is in our lower colon. Yep. And then you could drink a compost tea to supercharge the stomach. And I said, to be honest with you, I'm a contractor. I could build a clean room in my shop and grow only, herbs and special plants that would replicate a perfectly healthy human, and do it in a clean room where I would then make the compost for you as medical grade extracts. And he's like, oh my God, I'm going to go back and talk to the board of the hospital. We're going to push this through. This is going to be a game changer. And I said, oh, by the way, it won't cost you much. What is it going to take me? A couple of hours to do this? So I need $150, right? Can you handle that? And I'll give you a yard of the shit, right? Enough to treat thousands of people. 2 weeks go by. I don't hear from him. I call him up. I said, Wayne, what's going on? You left this place on fire. And he goes, Leighton, the board couldn't figure out how to make money on it, so they're not interested. I was horrified, absolutely horrified. Here's a way to jumpstart the human biome so that they can digest food naturally, and you don't want it. And this is why I say, and I agree with you, Kelly, doctors are important. Yeah, if I get in a car wreck and I'm unconscious, I'm going to get brought to a hospital, and they are going to patch me up, right? That's important. But to go to a doctor based on an ailment that I have would be foolish, because all I have to do is understand what is causing that ailment, and I can cure the problem, not treat the symptom.
Right. And truly, though, fecal implants can be done in your kitchen at home. You just have to be very, very knowledgeable of, if you are doing a fecal implant, that the donor of where you are getting that from has had no antibiotics for an entire lifetime, that person has a great biome